Hi crafty friends, we're back with part 2 of our little squarey pie Cindy Lou Who. Okay, so we're going to get us our safety eyes and some stuffing, and we're going to get us, my safety eye that I'm using is going to be just under 1/2 inch or about 1 centimeter. That's my size of my safety eyes. It's the same one we used on the Grinch. Okay, if you are making yours bigger, you're going to want bigger safety eyes. Or you guys play with the eyes that you want. If you've got some cute little eyes with blue, or you know, however you want. They have a lot of fun safety eyes out there. So we're going to place our safety eyes. Okay, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and in the 6th I'm going to put my safety eye from the side, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and in between the 7th and the 8th. Okay, and we're going to do the same. Okay, at this point, once you've got them on, make sure that they're centered the way you like them and they're in the position that you like them before you put on your backs. So I think mine should be fine. Then add my backs. My safety eyes aren't super great quality. I bought them on Amazon, and the eyes are fine, the backs are not. The good thing is that my girls, which are my youngest, don't put things in their mouths anymore. So that's fine. But if you're making these for a baby or for a small child, definitely get good safety eyes, or do a little, just make them their little eyes. That would be probably better as well, like just a little embroidered eye, or even, no, it's probably the safest would be an embroidered eye. But okay, so we've got our little eyes on. Okay, now what we're going to do, so we're going to go over from, I stopped right here on the corner. We're going to count over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to put a stitch marker in that 5th stitch. Okay, we're going to count over 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then that 10th, we're going to put another stitch marker. Okay. Now we're going to want to add some stuffing. So let's add our stuffing. This is all personal preference, how much stuffing you're going to want to put in yours. If you want it to lay a little flatter, you probably could use a little less stuffing, but if you want it to be nice and squishy, you can use a little extra. Since my red's a different yarn, you can see how it kind of, it's about the same size, but they are different yarns. I mean, both are acrylic and around the same size, but that is just, since it's not all from the same company, it you can see kind of a small difference between it, but I don't think that should matter all that much in the end. So we've got that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to want to make it straight across. We're going to take our stitch marker. Okay, and we're just going to close it off. Just trying to go as straight across as you can. So we're going to get the front loop on the first side, and then the back loop on the second, and we're going to do a slip stitch. We're going to do that until we reach the stitch marker. Okay, so I've reached my stitch marker, but we are going to just end this here. Okay, and I'm going to chain one and tighten, and we'll cut our yarn. That will weave in a minute. Now we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to do the same. So we're just going to close off that little spot. So what we're going to do is build our little hair up on the top. Okay, we'll make another slip knot. Okay, and then right here we're just going to take, just like we did before, the front and the back loop, and pull it through, and kind of go doing a slip knot. We're going to need to sew that in really well later. Another slip stitch. But we're just going to go to that first little stitch that we made, where we're going to go through this last stitch that our stitch marker's in. Okay, and now we're not going to fasten off. We're actually going to remove our stitch markers and keep them close, because we're going to need at least one of them in the very near future. Okay, now what we're going to start doing is going into the front loop only and doing single crochets. So what we're going to do is we're going to keep single crocheting. When we get to this little section, we'll just keep single crocheting around to the other side, so that we can do this in rounds as well. We can go into that last little stitch. Okay, so we're going to call that round 1, and then we're going to find the first stitch. This is a slip stitch. We're going to find the first single crochet that we did, and we're going to single crochet into that. It might be slightly tougher to get into. We can place our stitch marker into that first stitch, so that's going to mark our first row. And this is going to be the very first stitch of our second row. Okay, so right now I'm going to take the time and I'm going to add a little bit more stuffing just up in the corners, since those weren't quite stuffed as well as we'd want them to be, right? It didn't exist when we stuffed it originally, since we just closed it off. So it's easier right now than, as opposed to in a little bit that we've got a little bit more advanced her little hair. Okay, and this is what our little doll looks like by our Grinch so far. So that'll be fun. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to keep single crocheting. So we're going to do another round of single crochet. So round 2 of the hair, or of our little triangle hair ish, is going to be all single crochet. Okay, so we're just going to keep going around for our second row of single crochets in the front loop only. Okay, we're going to be starting our third row of single crochets. So there's our first stitch. We'll replace our stitch marker. Okay, then we're going to do another row of single crochets. Okay, so there's our third row. So this is what we have so far. Okay, on this next row, we're going to start with a decrease, which means we're going to put 2 single crochets together. So what we're going to do is we're going to do what's called an invisible decrease, which is used in amigurumi. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in to the first stitch, and we're not going to yarn over and pull up a loop. We're going to dip our hook down, and we're going to catch the next loop. So we've got 2 there. Then we're going to yarn over and pull that through both of those stitches, like both of the loops. You see now that made kind of a single crochet, but we've got both of those strands, and we're going to pull through there. So we're going to replace our stitch marker into that stitch that we've got 2 together in, and we've got our decrease right there. Okay, so I've got 2 stitches in one, and then we're going to crochet 3 single crochets, and we're going to do another one of those invisible decreases. So we're going to put that first front loop only on our hook, and we're going to drop down and pick up that second loop and pull, yarn over and pull through both, making 1 single crochet with 2 stitches. And then we're going to single crochet into the next 3 stitches. And then again we're going to do another decrease, invisible decrease. And then we're going to chain 3. And then again we're going to go into that front loop, and then the next front loop, and yarn over and pull our yarn through both of those loops, and single crochet. Okay, And I have an extra little stitch right here. I'm just going to single crochet into that. Okay, so just keep in mind at the end of the decrease rows, we're going to have like one extra little stitch. If your counts are the same as mine. Okay, and so we're going to do another decrease. So that first loop, and we're going to pull that next loop in there. So we've got both of those loops on the hook. And we're going to decrease. And this time, instead of single crocheting 3, we're going to single crochet 2. So 1, 2, and then we'll do another decrease. If you find that your stitches are a little bit loose, you can pull on them slightly. If they don't feel like they're tight enough. So there's 2 stitches. And then another decrease. Another 2 stitches. And then another decrease. And then right here we've got those last 3 stitches. Okay, at this point we'll probably want to add just a little bit of stuffing, since we're going to be in the next round. Our little pointy hair is going to close off a bit on the next round, so we'll want to make sure that we've got it stuffed. My crochet hook is like rubbery kind of at the end, so I'm going to use that to kind of poke down my stuffing. I've also used scissors and other things like that. I mean, it's sometimes it's a little harder to get your finger in there than like something slightly smaller. The back side of a pencil also works really well. Just depends on how big the hole is that you're trying to stuff, because obviously with some of the amigurumis, if you've got this little teeny tiny arm that maybe you've got 4 or 5 stitches going, you know what I mean, going around in a circle, and you want to add a little stuffing to that, like I've used scissors to kind of go like little by little adding stuffing to it. So it just depends, but okay, so we've got that. Okay, so now we're going to do another decrease now that we've got that stuffed. Okay, so we're going to put our stitch marker back into there. Okay, so we've got our decrease done. Okay, so we did our decrease, and then to the next one we're going to do 1 single crochet. So we're going to do a decrease and then a single crochet, a decrease, and then a single crochet. So we can get her little hair closed off. It's going to be so fun to have with the little Grinch, right? Okay, decrease. Okay, right here I'm just going to make a decrease with both of those. Okay, so that's what we're looking like right now. We're going to want to add just a little teeny bit more stuffing. We're going to want to stuff as much as we can. And here's where I'm going to get my scissors, since it's kind of a little smaller space. It is a little bit harder since they are not super abrasive to push that in there, but it does do the trick if you're patient with it. So, okay, so we've got a little more in there. The next round is going to be a round of only single crochets. So we'll add our first single crochet and add our stitch marker. To that first stitch. I'm just going to go all the way around. So we're going to put a single crochet into that last stitch. Okay, that's what we've got so far. Okay, so what we're going to do right now is we're going to pull our yarn. So we don't need so much, but we're going to want enough to weave in. So I'm just going to cut it. Okay, and I am going to try to take my stitch marker off, and I'm going to try to stuff just a little teeny bit more, because you can see that it's lacking a little bit of stuffing right there. So let's see if we can get just a little more stuffing in there before we finish closing it off. This is the part that sometimes you have to be a little more patient with. It's not quite as easy to get it to go in, since it's a little bit, the opening's smaller and smaller. So now we're going to get a needle, and we're going to finish closing up the top of her hair. We're going to go through, but we're only going to get the front loop, just like we've been doing. We're going to go through the front loop of each stitch. Okay, so just keep going around until we get back to where we started. Okay, so now I'm done. So I'm going to pull on that, just get it pulled closed. And while we're here, I'm going to insert mine right here in the back, just under there, to kind of secure we're going to want to secure that little loop that we made. Okay, and like I've said in other videos, when we're weaving things in, especially in our amigurumi, but in anything really, you're going to want to kind of try to go with the stitch. It will help it hide it a little bit better, like you're stitching. So like, let's say this stitch, I can either go down or up. So if I go down, then I can come out the other side, and then I'm going to want to do the same. I can either go up or down, probably down because it's a little closer. Okay, and now I'm just going to insert and pull that through to cut off. And I also like to, when it's feasible, obviously sometimes it's not, but I like to give it a little tug before I cut it, and then when you let go the resistance, it kind of just pulls it back. Okay, and since my stuffing kind of sank down, I'm going to insert my hook and try to pull just a little bit of that extra stuffing back up to make sure that it fills up nicely. I know our little Cindy Lou Who's looking a little funny right now. We'll get her the rest of her features and all that kind of good stuff, so she'll be looking cute in no time, huh? So I'm just going to use the same, just kind of go hiding the yarn at the same time that we're weaving in our ends. I'm just going to bring it out the other side and cut that off. Okay, so this is what it looks like right now. Our little Cindy Lou Who. Okay, now we're going to get some of our skin color so we can give her a nose. I'm just going to get a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to just pull it through the back a little bit. And just right here under her, kind of just right under where her eye is. I'm going to come out. Okay, and I'm going to pull that all the way through so we don't have to worry about it. Just don't pull in it too tight. Okay, and then we're going to go back in right here, kind of about the same spot. And we'll just work that in a couple times. A couple little bits of nose. Okay, so she had a cute little nose there. So I'm going to bring that out the other end. And then just kind of give it a little bit of a fluff to make sure that it looks cute. You can cut that off. Okay, now we're going to get some black yarn. And with the Grinch I used a little bit of a thicker yarn, as you can see. I think with her I'm going to use a thinner yarn. Okay, it's just slightly thinner. So this is what I used for the Grinch, and this is what I'm going to use for her. So it's a little bit thinner. It has a little sparkle because that's, like I say, I'm trying to use up scrap yarns. So so yeah, bear with me with the scrap yarns. And if you've got scrap yarns, you know, like some of these embroidery things can use a very small piece of yarn. You know, there's some little details, like right here in this red, we've used a very small amount of yarn. I'm going to insert, and then we're going to go through the other side. And we're just going to make a little eyelash for her. As close to the safety eye as we can get. Let's see if I can get that just a little closer so it's not as visible. Okay, so that's a little closer. Okay, and then we're going to try to do the same thing on the other side. So what we do on one side, we're going to want to do on the other side. And again, we're going to want to get it as close to that safety eye as we possibly can. Okay, and then I'm just going to pull mine through to the other side, but you can also tie them off. Okay, that's what my Cindy Lou Who looks like so far with her little eyes. Okay, and I've got a small amount of a light pink, just to give her a very small little mouth. So we're going to do the same, just insert it through the side and give her Probably a tiny little mouth. We'll try right here, right under the nose. So I'm going to pull the yarn through just like before. And then I'm going to go right here kind of through the middle, creating a little smile for her. And kind of go back in, and then bring that back out. Okay, so that's what we have so far. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I have this makeup that I've purchased. It's kind of a cheaper makeup, but you can use what you have, or if you've got something specific for dolls. And if you have any suggestions of what you use, I've just been using this makeup that I bought. And so I have this makeup that I've set aside specifically for my dolls. So and then I'll just kind of check and see if it's the amount and how I want it, for like kind of blot it a little bit. And put a very small little bit on her nose. And then you can kind of just rub it a little bit, okay? And give her just kind of up here by her little eyes a couple little dots. Okay, and then generally with the same tissue, I'll fold it and I just kind of buff it a little bit. You can use this with like the cotton swabs or something as well. Okay, so this is what our Cindy Lou Who is looking like, and she's right next to our Grinch, so it'll be fun. So that's going to be it for part 2, and so I will meet you back in part 3. So we'll finish up her collar and give her cute little braids, and so I will see you in part 3 for our next video. Bye!